My name is Janice Anderson, and I'm a cataloger 2 here in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. I have been working for OCLC since 2005. I have a master's degree in Library and Information Science from the University of Western Ontario in London, Ontario, and a Bachelor of Arts in German and Library Studies from the University of Concordia in Montreal. I have been working in the library field for over 25 years. I am currently specialized in cataloging music, including scores, CDs, LPs, and DVDs. Workday, I open Outlook, log on to Connection, ECS, the customer's OPAC, PLASWeb, and open Word documents for the ECS documentation for the particular project, the customer's work statement, and my personal notes file, for starters. I get a box or bin of music to catalog, up to 25 physical items, depending on what has been received. I do order entry in ECS, which involves searching the customer's OPAC to see if the item is already held, and searching WorldCat for a marked record. Then I will send the order from ECS into Connection and start cataloging. Okay, this is the less than full record, that is the only record in WorldCat for this item. So the fixed fields are corrected. Then I edit the variable fields. And add a subject and call number. Then I control all headings. And reformat the record. Then I change the holding code, reformat the record just in case, validate, and replace.
My name is Natasha Smith, and I'm a Metadata Specialist 2 in Contract Cataloging Services. I have been at OCLC since July 2011 when I came here as a diversity fellow for metadata and quality control. At that time, I had just graduated from Wayne State University with my master's in library and information science. And up until that point, my cataloging experience pretty much involved, I did a practicum at a public library in Dearborn, Michigan, where I cataloged for that library, as well as I took a cataloging and classification course at Wayne State. But the bulk of my training has been here at OCLC, where I primarily work on books and ebooks and e-audio for contracts such as Overdrive and EBSCO. And also I work on various books for academic libraries as well as public. So one thing about cataloging that I would say that I greatly enjoy is that no day is ever completely the same. If I could steal from Forrest Gump, cataloging is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. I could work on the same format every day and the content will vary greatly. Or I could have a day where I expect to work on one format, such as I could come in thinking I'm going to work on books, but we learned that we have a need to work on ebooks for the day or e-audio for the day. So that is one very cool thing about working in cataloging. But one of the challenges is you never know what you're going to get. So you could be working on a subject matter that you honestly, walking into work, had no clue about. whether it's nuclear physics, or I think I've worked on thermoaerodynamics, or I'm just honestly not a knitting person, so some of that craft stuff also can be challenging for me. But also another challenge I think in working in cataloging is the rules changes. When I first came here, it was right before the Godzilla that was known as RDA reared its head, so I got to learn AACR2, and maybe 2 years later we shift over to RDA, so that has been somewhat of a challenge getting used to a new standard. But at least being one of the younger catalogers, it wasn't after years of working with AACR2. Normally use tools such as RDA Toolkit, Cataloger's Desktop, Class Web, just to pretty much complete the record depending on what's needed. I also use WebDewey depending on whether the record requires LC classification or Dewey classification or both. And I would say that's pretty much a typical day as a cataloger, at least for me.
My name is Carolyn Walmark. I'm a metadata specialist 3, and I've been at OCLC for 22 years. But I've been a cataloger for 27 years. I came here from Ohio State, and before that I worked at Emory University in Atlanta. When I was in college, I majored in classics and history, and I worked in the catalog department of the college library. Now, previous to that, when I was in high school, I had been a shelver in a public library, and it was a fine job. And shelving is really important, but it's not really all that rewarding. So I had kind of decided that I was never working in a library again. And then I got to college and I got this job in the cataloging department, and I liked it right away. I was given more responsibility. I was allowed to file cards into the main card catalog because, well, we had them back then. And I loved it. I thought it was so much fun and so cool. So that's when I decided that I really wanted to learn more about cataloging. And I wanted to learn why the books were described that way, and why they were given those subject headings, and why they were formulated that way, and how did they come up with those call numbers anyway. I went to graduate school in classics, and I earned a master's degree in Latin, and then after that I got my master's in library science. Here at OCLC, I catalog mostly books. I do some DVDs too, and sometimes serials, and microfilm. I've done a lot of microfilm, a surprising amount of microfilm. I'm not sure why that is. I really like to catalog books in foreign languages. My educational background has helped me to feel comfortable working in different languages that I'm not necessarily fluent in. So I'm fortunate that I get to do a lot of that here, mostly Western European languages. And we have a lot of other people who work in more specialized languages like Chinese and Arabic. And really, really generally speaking, we do 2 types of cataloging here. We do original cataloging, which is when you create a catalog record from scratch, and copy cataloging, or enhancements as we call it, which is where you find a matching record in WorldCat and then upgrade it, adding things that might be missing. Commonly call number, subject headings, but also other bits of information that are missing from the catalog record. I think that a lot of member copy is pretty good. I mean, I try to put in good copy, and I think that a lot of other people try to too. But sometimes we come across these really, really brief records, and they may have title, ISBN, maybe a publisher, and that's just really not helpful to very many people. So then you have to spend a lot of time upgrading that record and making it usable. And I think that my colleagues and I spend a lot of time doing that, upgrading records. And really, if you start out with a record that's so basic like that, it's almost the same amount of time and energy that it takes to catalog an original item. My favorite thing about cataloging is the variety of subjects that I come across every day. I mean, it could be anything, you know. You could catalog a book about the history of Bolivia, or photography, or like the life of some saint who lived in Macedonia in the 12th century. I mean, you pick up something and it could be about literally anything. And I really enjoy that challenge. It really is to determine in a timely manner, if you can, what the item is about, and then describe it as accurately as possible so that a library user or a researcher or even a Google user can find that book when they need it. Sometimes it's quite the challenge, but it's never boring, and that's why I like it.
I'm Victoria Sokoloff, and I've been a cataloger with OCLC for almost 12 years. Forgive me for cheating with notes, but I don't want to forget anything. As a child, the library was an escape for me from a rather tumultuous home life. I remember how peaceful the library was and how helpful the librarians were with whatever I needed. I would stay in the library for hours and hours doing schoolwork or just reading for fun. Since then, I've always loved libraries, so it's no surprise that I ended up working in the library to help pay for college. My part-time job in an academic library eventually blossomed into a career. At the Manhattan School of Music, a private college in New York City, I served in many different capacities within the library, including providing reference services, cataloging, and as the head of interlibrary loan and technical services. I have a bachelor's degree in music as well as a master's in library science. I was fortunate to have enjoyed a part-time career as a professional singer. My music training, including studying opera at both the Manhattan School of Music and the Juilliard Opera Center, as well as my performance experience, provides the perfect background needed for music cataloging. As a music cataloger at OCLC, I catalog mostly music scores and sound recordings, as well as various video and non-music spoken word and book formats in languages including French, Italian, and German. I catalog for libraries as well as publishers and vendors. My cataloging projects vary, but currently include Arkansas State University, the University of Kentucky, Midwest Tape, Naxos Music Library, and Medici TV. In order to be able to catalog music, and especially music scores, an extensive knowledge of classical music is invaluable. Since much of classical music is Western European in origin, classical music titles and terminology, as well as vocal music, tends to be in Western European languages. Familiarity with the repertoire and these languages is essential. For me, one of the most challenging aspects of being a contract cataloger at OCLC is a limited amount of time we can spend creating each catalog record. The time we have to spend on each title is generally more limited than what most catalogers working in a library would have. But even with that limited time, you want each catalog record to be as accurate and complete as possible in order to provide the best access for library patrons. One of the things I enjoy most about being a cataloger at OCLC is the vast array of interesting music materials that I see on a regular basis. I've learned so much as an OCLC cataloger, being exposed to so many music collections from around the country that I likely never would have been able to work with anywhere else. But the real joy of working as a cataloger for OCLC is the wonderful team of catalogers and other professionals that I'm fortunate to work with every day.